Carlos is asking. It's hard for me to finish completing the money for my 6 months. I already overcame the fear to be rejected. I overcame the non-deserving. But can you tell me something else to keep on growing?
You know, the thing is this. We all have separations. It could be love, could be money, could be physical, could be social. We all have these ideas in our head. And our very deep belief systems, and we're not open to receive. So you just have to keep going in. And stop looking for reasons why not, and focus on the yes. You can create anything in any moment, but you have to be clear. You have to be clear and move into action. Don't have any no's. And remember that this is part of the process. I grow as I walk through my limitations. And money's just an energy. It's an energy that comes and goes. And it can become more and more abundant when you start to open to receive, open to give. Stop making it special. Just allow. And this is part of your growth. You'll have what you need. For sure. Focus on that. But move into action. And don't have any limitation.
Guille is asking. My mind is always hooking into obsession, compulsion. Sometimes had been something spiritual, another time superficial, another time substance, another time with a person, with whatever, so on. Now I'm totally obsessed with your system and I don't stop watching your videos and reading your books. Why I'm asking this? Because I'm always obsessed with something. I gave myself completely to that, and then one day I get tired and I just drop it. So in this moment I want to be free of obsession, addictions, dependencies. What can you tell me?
You know, the thing is, consciousness is something real. And if you're focused on expanding consciousness, even if you're obsessed with expansion consciousness, it's giving you something. It's giving you internal security. It's giving you love. It's giving you something real. And that's different to having a superficial obsession. A substance, a person, a goal. Because you're going to start experiencing more and more love. And it's something, if you don't set a goal, that you won't stop doing. Because you're finding yourself. And ultimately, you have to find yourself. You know, I did everything 100%. But it would always end up being empty. And then I'd have to look for something else and look for something else. But when I found consciousness, it doesn't have a finite point. It just keeps going. It keeps growing. It keeps getting bigger, more and more fulfilling, until the illusion falls. So this isn't a superficial thing. It's like saying, I have an obsession with breathing. You can't stop breathing. And you can't stop coming home to yourself. It's your nature. It's not an addiction. It's your nature. So I think I'd change the chip and be clear about what you want. And what do you want? You want love. Everything else you did trying to get love. But it wasn't there. It was never there. It was always here. So keep going in. Continue focusing on consciousness and expand that love, because it's not going to disappear. It's who you are.
The injustice affect me. Racism, famine, violence, abandonment, mistreatment of animals. I'm aware that I have to be watching all these things, but with detachment. But they affect me. They create tension. Now I found it a temporal solution, which is to avoid consciously to be in touch with these things. What do you advise me?
You know, the thing is, when we're always looking for a cause, it's external. And the world is unjust. And there's one solution for all the problems in the world, and that's the expansion of consciousness. You know, I used to march for everything. Save the whales, Indigenous rights, women's rights, every sort of rights. Stop uranium mining, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I was fiercely political. And then I realised at some point I didn't want to look inwards. I didn't want to save myself, because it made me feel powerful to have a cause. And now I still believe in the same things, but I'm teaching people to do what I do, and that's to elevate consciousness. People in high levels of consciousness don't have prejudices, don't have judgments, don't violate, don't destroy the planet, don't care about other people's belief systems. They just see reality, and that is the love. So the elevation of consciousness is the only solution. But you have to do it, because we're all full of prejudices. They're programmed in our heads. We've been taught them since we were this big. And depending on where we're from, our financial status, our political preference, all the other preferences, defines what we think. But we are not our thoughts. So if you really want evolution, if you really want justice, whatever that is, I call it love. It has to come from you. You have to create it, but within you. And see this distraction, suffering for everything. Because really, you're addicted to suffering.
Carla is asking, what is love? What is the maximum manifestation, the highest manifestation of love? What is love consciousness, and how it expresses itself, and how you feel that?
Love's an energy, and the majority of humans vibrate in quite a low vibration, full of fear, full of belief systems, judgments with self and with the world, no? And as we start to cultivate this energy of unconditional love, or love consciousness, it starts to clean our window of perception. And we start to change. And it never stops growing. We are focused on unity with our divinity. But in order to get to that point, we have to embrace the parts of ourselves that we judge. And we have many parts that we judge. And we have to love all those parts unconditionally and go beyond them. So we have to elevate that energy. When we elevate our energy, there's a natural vibration that runs through our bodies of peace, of joy. It's our natural way of being. And that doesn't mean that we don't have human emotions. Doesn't mean that we don't get sad. Doesn't mean we don't get angry. Doesn't mean any of that. But we're completely free to be ourselves. And we experience this underlying love which sustains everything. So focus on that internal security. You can't focus on external security. That's a consequence of this.
Carlos, I have irrational thoughts that come and go, and sometimes few of them get stuck in my mind for days, and I cannot ignore them. What you can tell me about it?
Most of our thoughts are irrational. You know, I call them grooves because I'm old and I remember records, no? And we have certain thoughts that we've run for so long, it's like there's a deep groove. So the needle keeps dropping into that groove. And they're usually thoughts that judge ourselves. They're pulling us down. They're confirming there's something wrong with us. And we have to see that. And we have to laugh at it. We have to pick up the needle and put it somewhere else. It's in our hands. And we have to see that we always believe the rubbish about ourselves. Wonderful things we seldom can recognize. And we have to open to that. Love is very real. Your perfection is very real. Your uniqueness is very real. And you have to allow it to come out. So how do you let it come out? By eradicating all the judgments, so that you can clearly see how perfect you are. And you've always been perfect.
Vilma is asking how to heal the relationship with self, to be able to have a good relationship with self and others.
Well, that's what the whole system's for. That's all it's for. Expand consciousness, remove the victim, let go of the suffering, to stop projecting our angst, our fears on top of each other. It's for that. And that's why you're doing this. And the system's complete. It does all of the above. First you use the facets, then you start connecting, you start to move, you start to cultivate consciousness, you start to live in the present moment, you start to see self, what's real and what's not, you start to change, you start to choose who you want to be, you start to walk through your fears, take off your masks. All of this is a consequence of love. And once that happens, you have transparent relationships with everyone. And that's all you want, to be free to be yourself. And the system's for that.
I feel that expectations take me to the disillusion, to the frustration, to the suffering. But if I don't put expectation, I will not be ever again stressed.
Yay! Expectations are attachments. They make us suffer. And we have to let them go. If you can let go of that and just be, embrace the moment exactly as it is, without any judgment, you are free. Because there's never anything wrong. It's our expectations that make it wrong. It's our judgments that make it wrong. There's never anything wrong. It's just different. It's an experience. It's not important. What's important is what you're being. Because you can't change the world. But you can change yourself. You can change yourself. And you can choose how you want to be. Do I want to suffer? Do I want to be a victim? Or do I want to flow? Surrender? Do I want to give love to myself? Or am I expecting to get it from someone else? Does it have to look a certain way? If it doesn't look a certain way, then it's not love. All these things make us suffer. Expectations.
I have a beautiful experience of consciousness, but I can see that I love to feel a victim and get lost in my dramas. Why does this continue happening?
Because you love the adrenaline. It's just that. You like to feel all the emotions. You like to feel sorry for yourself. Because you've been doing it for so long. So you're not choosing to be powerful, to be clear, to move forward, to mature, to stop being a victim and take responsibility. Why are you not choosing that? Because you're afraid. So you have to go deeper into your consciousness. You have to really cultivate it till it becomes so loud that the other behaviours look absurd. You imagine if you have an adult that's behaving like a child, what do you think when you see that adult? It's having a temper tantrum, it's screaming, it's blaming everyone for everything. What do you think when you see that? You think it's ridiculous. You think, oh, how immature. But you're doing the same thing. And you have to catch yourself. Think to yourself, who is the person that I admire? How do I want to be? And stop getting hooked in the emotion and the drama. And decide to be who you want to be. Everyone can be a victim. The world's full of victims. In fact, 99.9999999% of people are victims. And that's the leaders of our countries. That's how immature humanity is. They have temper tantrums. They fight. They drop bombs. They do all sorts of things. Do you want to be that? Or do you want to be more? It starts at home. Really it does. And guess what? You're all at home. So you can start now. Yeah. Our nervous system is like an electrical circuit. And if you're very present, you can feel the vibration. It's always moving. It's not dense. We think it's all water and meat and blood, sangre, todo esto. But it's not. It's electrical. And it's as if we have all these wires within us and they're connecting. But they have blocks. They have problems. They have emotions. They have stresses. And as that starts to leave, as we start to evolve, we start to vibrate in a very high frequency. And that vibration is the peace. is the joy, is the spontaneity. That high vibration is our divinity. And that vibration starts to open and we start to unify with everything. This is what we're trying to create. And this is what the facets are for. And the expression and the water and the exercise to heal the central nervous system or electrical circuits. Because everything's energy. You perceive it as something solid. You perceive it as something real. But it's really just energy. And it's all made of the same energy. Love, the vibration of love. God, creation. There's no separation. It's all one.
Maria Lucia, I cannot tolerate to be criticized. What can I do?
So why don't you stop looking at it as criticism and start thinking, oh, this is an opportunity to grow. And if someone says something to you, assume it's correct and go in and find that place and love that place. Because you can be sure that if someone's criticizing you, you're already criticizing yourself. You already have that judgment. You know, we always want people to love us, to respect us, to admire us, to tell us we're doing a good job. But are you telling yourself that? Probably not. You're always your biggest critic. So when you see it externally, just receive it. Don't hit it back. Take it in. Connect. How does that make me feel? How can I be more? This is a gift for evolution. Use everything so that it's like the wind through your hair. Nothing touches you. Just allow it to move through. And love every aspect. Stop defending your limitations. We're all full of limitations. Why bother defending them?
Graciela is asking, what do I want to save everyone?
Because you're suffering. And you see the world suffering. There's nothing to save. We have to save ourselves. And then we'll see that it's just an experience. No one's really suffering. It's our perception. Everyone's in evolution. And when we go through really difficult times, it's an opportunity for more love. And people go through horrible times, really difficult times. And yet what happens? They evolve, they change.
Not I saying, I'm surprising all the time about the transformation, physical transformation. It's a constant regeneration. It's like that?
Sure. You know, as you evolve and your electrical circuits are so sharp, you start to see that everything starts to change. You have an unlimited capacity to heal, to grow. You know, everything changes. And it's an amazing thing. You know, a person that's in high levels of consciousness, nothing affects because they go beyond that. So, yes, of course. It's all energy. It can all transform. And that's why we have the facet, my ever-changing body. It's changing all the time. And scientifically you can prove this. The regeneration of cells, of skin, of everything. The human body is like the planet, no? It has the capacity to rejuvenate. It just has to remove the stress. And you're seeing that.
Gonzalo, I have now anxiety attacks. Before they used to be panic attacks, but still when I travel activates and I hyperventilate, I sweat, etc. And it comes all that sensation. Before I used to enjoy traveling, and now what can I do?
Sounds like menopause. You know, I used to have panic attacks. You're saying. Now you have anxiety. So that means it's not controlling you. You can actually move. And you have to keep moving. And you have to keep travelling. And you have to go through your limitations. You can't let fear stop you from doing what you want to do. So what is your fear? I know what your fear is. Fear of death. So you have to find something beyond that. Something so big that you feel secure everywhere. You have to know your true nature. We have to go beyond the fear of death. And we have to find something within us that's immortal. And it's there. So when you feel that anxiety, go in and keep going in and go deeper until it becomes a distant sound. Don't stop doing what you love to do. Don't allow fear to control your life, because that's not life.
What do you think about the need of listening to music all the time? I remember that before I loved music, and then when I got sick, I stopped listening to it. And now I cannot stop listening.
You know, I used to sing. And I used to write songs all the time, write music all the time. And I discovered something so extraordinary, and it was called silence. And it was so profound and so beautiful that I stopped listening to music, but completely. And it used to consume my life. So it was the next step in my evolution. Because music creates emotion. The words create emotion. And often the emotion is the victim, the story, the romance, all of these things. So there's nothing wrong with listening to music, but there's something even more beautiful, and it's the silence. And if you can be in that silence, and then you can hear totality, because you're so in the present moment, that's beyond everything. So look at how you escape with music. It's a place where you're still not present, or with yourself. You're in a fantasy, and you're trying to escape reality. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't listen to music. But if you're listening to it all the time, you're really trying to escape something. And you're missing something much more beautiful.
When you say to go deeper, down, down, deeper, deeper, and to where? To go where? To feel what?
Well, you know, like when you jump into the ocean, no? And the waves are here, and they're hitting you in the face, and they go up your nose, and you get thrown here, and you get thrown there, and you try to swim against the tide, and it keeps bringing you in, and you're trying to go there, and it keeps taking you there. You've all had that experience, I'm sure, like you're in a washing machine. But there's a point whereas if you surrender, and you go down. All of a sudden, there's silence. And then there opens a new world. Because there's a completely new world under the water. So you have to go beyond that which you know into that you don't know. So when I say to go deeper, it's exactly like that. You're diving into yourself. And in reality, that's infinite. But you have to expand your consciousness to get to the point where you can experience that. So once you stop getting thrown around on the surface and all the judgments and go where, and I'm going here, but I'm going there, and I want to go there, but it's bringing me back. At some moment, you just have to drown in consciousness. And then the new world opens. I don't know if that's any clearer. But if you do the facets, you'll find out pretty soon. You don't need to understand. It's like the facets. They're not even clear. For the intellect, they're stupid. But for consciousness, they're the key to the door.
How is said that are we who create the situations? For example, if my partner is unfaithful to me, how did I create such a thing?
You know, you're not consciously creating something. I'm talking about from a much higher level. Everything that's transpiring is a human experience, and it's full of many creations. And some people have patterns. Some people always have partners that play up on them, and other people always do it. You know, these are just things that happen in life. And we have to learn to detach from form. Because deep down, what we're saying to ourselves is, I'm not good enough. I'm not enough. So who can heal that? It's not about your partner. It's about you. You have to love you. You have to appreciate you. You can't be controlling anything externally. People have their own experiences. You have to let go of your fears and expectations and not suffer. Because you have an expectation. He should be faithful. She should be faithful. Oh, she met someone else. This one wanted to be with someone else. And it's just like that. It's just like that. So evolve. Grow. You can't change other people. You can't make them faithful. But that talks about them, not you. That's their choice, not your choice. It's their choice. What you do with that, that's your choice.